Good morning. What a pleasure to see everybody here on this Texas winter day, right? This is our dead of winter. I had to let Tom Sullivan know this is our polar vortex right here, right? So we're so glad you're here. What a delight to partner with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. My name's Jeff Moseley. I'm CEO of the Texas Association of Business, and we're about a 100-year-old organization that is the State Chamber of Commerce. And we're so pleased to have a strong, very strong tie to small business. About 75% of our members are small businesses. So what a delight to be here with you and with our friends at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We're also pleased today to have our chairman of our board with us, Bob Cartwright, who is a small business leader himself in the Austin area. Chairman, a delight to have you here. Yeah, you can give him a hand. That's right. Chairman Bob, delight to have you with us. And I also wanted to just remind each of you who are still working through Hurricane Harvey, and I know that knocked this region down, and it's still a way of climbing back out of that, but the U.S. Chamber Foundation has a hurricane and a disaster resilience toolbox. So check that out. Go to the U.S. Chamber Foundation and see if there's not some tools there that could help you if you're still looking for ideas on how to come back from disaster. It's also preparedness. How do we prepare for the next disaster? Because we know one day there'll be another one knocking on our door. The Texas Association of Business is offering something in June that we wanted to also just put in a quick flag, and that is we'll be offering health insurance through Blue Cross Blue Shield. So stay tuned. We think it's a wonderful product for small businesses, but it's going to be launched later this year. Well, may I visit with you a little bit about the state of Texas before we bring our panelists up? Aren't we blessed to live in Texas and to live in the Houston area? And it's real interesting that what we know is a great place to live, guess what? That secret's out, isn't it? Because now there are about 1,200 new Texans coming here every day. 1,200 new Texans a day. Coming to what we know is a great place to live. Why? Because this is a great place to have a business, to raise a family. The permitting, the regulatory climate is pro-business. That's what the Texas Association of Business does. We fight for that. We work with our friends in Washington at the U.S. Chamber to make sure that we can grow jobs and paychecks, and that's what we're all about. But the word's out, isn't it? And so right now, the opportunities for our state and for the legislature that's meeting right now are to talk about what Texas will look like. In the year 2036, we have a birthday, and that's our bicentennial. And the question is, will it be a happy birthday, or will it be a sad birthday? And so right now we have that opportunity to think about the Texas of tomorrow and the future. And with 1,200 new Texans every day, there's a demand for more infrastructure, for more capacity. We have to have more power grid, more water treatment, more highways, more port capacity, just to serve all the new Texans that are coming our way. So today, our state's about 28 million in population, and the demographers are saying that in the next 30 years, we grow to 50 million. So when you're driving around town and you go, you know, we live in a pretty big town. H-Town's pretty big, isn't it? Well, we won't recognize it in a few years. It'll go by just like that. 50 million as a state population, a large portion of them settling here. So for a business person like yourself, think about not only what you need to be doing to get through the year, but think about what this region will look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and position your business so you can have an advantage as you look at this marvelous place we call home. So without further ado, I'd like to bring our panelists up. We're very blessed today to have four very dramatic small business leaders who are accomplished in their own way. I'm going to ask them to come and take a seat, and we'll introduce them very quickly. And you see their pictures and their names up on the screen on either side. And immediately to my right, Jesson is with Ogre Energy, And I thought that was an interesting name until I started reading about his company, but there's a purpose for that name because his company is there to fight for you and me as residential power users. And we hire Ogre because they go in there and negotiate the best rates, and I'll let him explain a little more about how that all works, but we're pleased to have you, Jesson. Let's give him a hand. Jesson, welcome. And Marcus and I go back a ways, don't we, Marcus? Just a little bit. If you haven't tried Marcus's restaurant called the Breakfast Club, you're missing a real treat. Yeah, we can clap for the Breakfast Club. Yeah. And I used to eat there quite a bit until I got tired of waiting in line. Because usually there's a really nice line in front of the Breakfast Club. Marcus is an entrepreneur, though. He has another store that features Caribbean. He's put products, branded products on the marketplace. And Marcus actually is a radio personality and has a weekly radio show. And we're so pleased to have you here, Marcus.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Lawson, we can clap for Marcus again. Yeah, welcome, Marcus. Lawson is here representing a very wonderful segment of this vibrant economy. You know, we just described all the new people coming in to our state, but a lot of those are entrepreneurs and they're looking for a way to grow their business. They're looking for capital. They're looking for angel funders that will come in and say, you know what, I believe in what you're doing. Here's some money to take you to the next level. And he's got a beautiful company that helps incubate these businesses. And we're just so pleased you're with us today, Lawson. Let's welcome Lawson. So you know Maria is serious about the panel. She brought a hard hat with her today. But that's very, very symbolic of a wonderful industry. She's the only Hispanic Latina that's involved in waste management. And her company started with 2 trucks. We want to get her to tell the story. And now she's recognized nationally for her accomplishment in this area. But let's welcome Maria. Maria, what a delight to have you here today. So why don't we just, I guess one question is for each of you, how is it that Houston became the place for you to open up your business and to grow your business? What was the decision? In some cases, it might be that you were already here. In some cases, it might be that you moved into Houston because this was an opportunity. We can start and just go down the line.
Sure. Well, I've been in Houston since the mid-'90s in the energy space. And for a lot of folks, you know, it's sort of maybe a little bit cliche that Houston is sort of like the energy capital of the world. So for us, it was very straightforward and easy for us. The talent pool of folks that have been in the industry for quite some time were here, and it was very simple and straightforward for us. The climate made it easy for us to do business here.
Thank you, Jesson. Marcus?
I am born and raised Houston. I'm straight out of Fifth Ward, Texas. And so quite obviously, Houston being my home is a great place to open my business. But in addition to that, what I share with entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, is that Houston is a hotbed for entrepreneurship. There's a vast amount of opportunity. A lot of times I encounter entrepreneurs and they talk about moving to another city or being in another city to launch their business. And when I ask them why, they say because it doesn't exist in our city. And I share with them that that's the very definition of entrepreneurship, finding what the marketplace is missing and bringing it to what's being called for.
So, born and raised in Houston, I love it. As you say, the secret's out. It's a great place to live. But one thing that we've sort of historically lagged in is especially tech-based startups and creating an entrepreneurial community and hubs that surround those early stage businesses with all the support they need. And I love the city, and I want to see it grow bigger, faster, stronger, cooler, sexier, and so that's what the Cannon's doing.
Thank you, Lawson. Maria?
Well, for me, I've been in Houston since I was 13, so this is home. I travel all over the country to serve in different panels, and when I come to Houston, it's Houston strong. It's home. Houston really walks the talk. It's a very diversity city, has many opportunities for small business owners and business owners. Houston has so much to offer. state-of-the-art facilities, state-of-the-art business development. And, if we don't take advantage of this, Houston is a beautiful, beautiful city to have a business. Like I started with 2 trucks, and then we can continue that conversation in just a minute. So Houston really is the key city for many other states in America.
Well, why don't we pick up on that discussion, because we have so many small businesses here, and they're probably wanting to know, how did each one of you decide to kind of grow? You start out with 2 trucks. How did you decide to grow and expand beyond that? Each of you give an idea of how did you not only plant your business and start it, but what were the ingredients that were necessary for you to take it and stretch and grow it? Maria?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, scaling my business has been a key. In Houston, I mean, of course, has all the ingredients. And every truck that we purchase has ensured me that having that great relationship with bankers and establishing credit before you need it is a key for success. So every procurement, every contract that I get is a securement to continue building that relationship with the bankers, to continue getting equipment, not only just trucks. And those trucks, I mean, as you already know, from $250,000 to $300,000 a truck. So you need to have that credit and that relationship already established before you need it. That's what's been the key for my success and for me to scale my business.
It's an interesting point, and it's a great segue, because Lawson is in the business of helping entrepreneurs get that resource. But you're saying having that relationship with bankers. It's also interesting today. We hear a lot that debt is a bad word, but it's management of debt, right? That's where governments get in trouble, is how do they manage their debt. In your case, you had to have that relationship with a banker. Lawson?
Yeah, well, so we're about 15 or 16 months in. To start, we had to raise a couple $1 million that then were spent on actually creating a workspace, because that's step one for us, is creating a workspace, and then surrounding them with all these small businesses. They all need, about 8 of the same things: mentors and sources of funding and service providers and legal and accounting, and so we're trying to create this one-stop shop. And so far so good. We've expanded into a second location, and we have a third in downtown opening up shortly.
Very nice. Marcus?
Yes, sir.
So how did you come up with the idea of getting involved in the industry that you're in, the hospitality industry,
Right.
restaurant industry, and then taking that and seeing how you could grow it?
So I've been in the hospitality industry since I was a kid. My dad, who was a full-time educator, but his passion was catering. So my first job was working for my father in his side business as a little waiter at events like this, where I put on my little tuxedo shirt and pants and go around and serve and eat in the back at the same time. But from there, I went to work in food from the time I was 15 all the way through college. And so I've been in the hospitality industry for a while, and I decided that I wanted to bring something to my city that did not exist. I believe the definition of entrepreneurship is filling a void in the marketplace that the marketplace is calling for, consciously or subconsciously. And so I wanted to take what I had learned and what I contributed to the organization that I was with, and bring it back home and launch this concept of serving the best grits in Texas. And here we are 17 years later. We have grown from one store to a Caribbean concept to a bar and lounge to a Southern cuisine restaurant downtown, and 2 locations in the airport, which, by the way, just won USA Today's Best Airport Restaurant Concept.
All right. Very nice. Congratulations. And Breakfast Club, I guess, came out of a concept of taking the concept of grits from the East Coast and the concept of grits from the West Coast. Is that right?
So the Breakfast Club, the concept came from a number of things. Listening to people who were, Houston is a migratory city. You just mentioned the number of people that are still moving here. Well, even 20 years ago, people were moving to the city. And so this idea of fish and grits, so when I was in college, there were folks that went to school, that came from Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and they were familiar with this dish, right? And then you got the waffles and the chicken, which the urban legend is that it came from LA, but it really came from New York. It's an old jazz, it's an old jazz
Right.
urban legend that the cooks used to the musicians would play into the late hours of the night, into the early morning, and were confused about what they wanted, dinner or breakfast, so the cook would just make them some chicken and some waffles. So we wanted to bring that flavor to Houston. It's a popular dish now, but you got to think about this. In 1999, when I first came up with the concept, you couldn't find a fish or a grit on anybody's breakfast plate
Right.
across the city.
Right.
And so the desire was to fill the marketplace with that concept. And additionally, again, this is 99 when I came up with this concept, when coffee houses were all the rave. And there were great coffee houses that didn't serve grits, and there were great breakfast restaurants that served lousy coffee, right? So our idea was to put the coffee shop and the food together. So I don't know of a place today where you can get a fried pork chop and a caramel macchiato, except
That's right. Thank you, Jesson.
Sure.
So just again, a little bit, how did you, when you're looking at how to get involved with helping residential buyers purchase their power,
Sure.
your model is that you don't capture a fee, but basically I would pay you just a standard fee, but you're not going to capture a commission off of what you're saving me like some of the other power savers. How did you find that model, and how did you establish your company and
Sure.
go to where you are today?
Well, I've been, as I said earlier, in the power space really since it functionally unbundled to the federal level in the mid-90s. And so I've been here, we had some legislation passed in sort of the early 2000s in Jan 1, 2002, for most of the areas where the larger population centers, except for Austin and San Antonio, are open to retail competition. So there's been a very competitive market environment over the years, and there's been a lot of evolution. We had the advent of smart meters and a bunch of other things that have happened. So there's just these ongoing revolutions that sort of are continuing to occur. And now we're on sort of the precipice of the smart home and how does this all integrate together. But one of the things that we found early on was, I thought about it sort of like, a lot of people when they're buying electricity, it seems simple. But if we think about it, it's sort of like we were all on a horse and buggy one day, and then the world changed, and everyone's like, well, those go, and you're driving cars today. We literally just changed the rules on January 1 of 2002. So a lot of folks have been purchasing on their own and making those kinds of decisions and relying upon other people that probably in some cases was fine for them, in some places not fine for them.
Right.
But what we found is over time is there just, as this has matured, it's become more complicated. And nobody really, since the advent of this market, has really been 100% aligned with the customer. So we've had folks that are we have new retail electricity providers, they're out there trying to make a margin selling to new customers. We have folks in the traditional brokerage community that are in the middle, they're facilitating transactions, and they earn a margin for that, but no one's ever really sort of fully aligned themselves with the end customer and said, this is complicated, let us take care of it for you. So we happen to be starting our concept at the sort of convergence of a lot of this need in the marketplace, a lot of confusion that corresponded with this massive increase in technology. And in many respects, we're a technology company. We sort of focus in the energy management space and we assist customers in that particular space. But ultimately, this is a function of us using applied technologies to solve these issues that people have.
So if somebody in the audience wants to save on their power, they could have that conversation with you, but would you also work with a business owner like, say, Marcus, where he's got several stores, and or are you just only residential?
No, oftentimes Energy Ogre does that. Our primary focus is to serve the residential customer, but oftentimes what will happen is, I'll serve someone like Marcus at his home, and it's a natural evolution for him to say, can you help me in my business? Because one of the things that we do, we work with a number of business owners and small business owners that if we can help save their employees money, it's almost like they're putting funds back in their pocket. They're looking out for them. So there's this ongoing relationship that we tend to have with our consumers, with the small business owners, with their employers as well.
Why don't we do this? We're getting ready to wrap up this panel discussion. It's gone by pretty quickly, but it'd be interesting. We talked a little bit about Hurricane Harvey, just to get a snapshot from each one of you about how you see the economy from your perspective. Has Houston recovered? Has it bounced back, or is it in the process of bouncing back? How did it impact your business? So we'd be pleased to get your thoughts on that.
Sure. For us, we saw it primarily in a number of our customers that were flooded out of their homes. And we assist people moving from one location to another location. Right. Sometimes those homes were destroyed. We need to set up commercial service for them was being reconstructed. So we tried to waive fees for our customers to help them. The last thing they need to do is be paying us to assist them when they're dealing with much bigger issues. But it seems to us today, some folks are they're never going to rebuild and sort of have moved on into other types of things. But it looks to us as though the vast majority of our customer base that was displaced is now back in a primary residence.
Very good. Marcus?
So it's funny you ask. When Hurricane Harvey hit, every time you would encounter someone, the first question would be, hey, did you get affected by the storm? And my response would be yes. And they would say, well, what happened to your home? Nothing happened to my home, but my business. And there was a sense of, oh, okay. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Not okay. He said, you were affected by the storm? Yes. My business was affected. Oh, but your home is okay. The home that I pay for through my business.
Yeah, right. Right.
It's fine. But my business was shut down for 5 days. And so I share that because I went on a rampage of letting people know the importance of supporting small businesses through that time. I think Forbes had a study that said somewhere in the area of 50% of the businesses that are affected by these storms don't recover. And of the ones that do recover, within 24 months, half of them are gone. So it was a very tough time. And the important part, or the benefit and the important part, is that we got to a point where you can have the safety nets. And a lot of small businesses, it takes time to get to those safety nets, to have the right insurance, to have the cash reserves, to be able to withstand the storm, literally and figuratively. And to have the lawyer on retainer that has to fight the insurance company that doesn't want to give you the money that you paid them to give you over the last 5-10 years. So that's the challenge. Today, I think that we're thriving. The economy's come back. People are spending, but there are some small businesses out there that are still hurting because when you lose a week of business, it takes about a year or so to recover from that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jesson.
That's you.
I'm sorry, Lawson. Lawson. I already warned these guys I was going to make.
Oprah.
Lawson, pardon me.
Well, so in our world, what was interesting to see is entrepreneurs solve problems. You said it more eloquently, but they solve the problems. They create solutions to meet the needs stated subconsciously or consciously in the community. And after Harvey, there was this very acute outcry of a need for solutions around everything flooding, everything water resiliency. And so there were a couple of, we've got over 100 companies in the canon, but there was this surge of a new wave of startups that were solving problems that had now been exposed by Harvey. So one was GotSpot, which partnered with venues like this or co-working spaces or unused office space to create a heat map of safe zones that you could ping in the event of an next flood, so that people can go and find those spots. That's something that never would have crossed people's minds in a pre-Harvey world. There's also another water resiliency accelerator program that helps sort of hackathon solutions for flood prevention and survival and recovery. So in the entrepreneurial community, that was really interesting to see.
Thank you, Lawson. Appreciate it. Maria.
In my way, Harvey, we are a service company, so we are fully certified and also first responders for the city and state, like Harvey. So we are portable toilet services, dumpster services, cleanup services. So when we started getting those calls from the first responders to set up our units in different locations to respond not only during and after. I mean, my heart went to all the callers that were calling our business for services. I mean, like, I still remember, and it just breaks my heart when somebody would say, I would pay you $1,000 if you can bring me a toilet and a dumpster, because my father, it has illness and so on, and many, many, many calls. So to me, it was a really heartbreaking experience, although we were putting our dumpsters or toilets all over Houston, and the first responders, most important, and shelters, and I wanted more toilets at that time, I wanted to help the world, and this is not the first time. When I started my business, we had Katrina, and Katrina put me on the White House. Why? Because my job is, of course, to create jobs and to build a sustainable business, but my heart is to help and to be part of our community. Building a strong community, to me, that means the world. And so my dumpsters were floating on the water or top of roof, toilets all around. But in my mind, I had thousands of dumpsters and clients with problems. To me, let's worry about that later. First, my employees are safe, our team is equipped and ready. So we were ready, responding, even establishing temporary clinics for the elder and children. So Nation Waste was there, and we're Houston strong.
So we have just a few minutes to wrap this up. Very quickly, what best advice would you offer the small business owners that are here in the audience? Maria, what's the best advice you would give?
The best advice I would give to the business owners is to be ready. Not only ready in a way, I mean, the question is general or?
Yeah, just general. We just have a few minutes left. We just want a real quick, kind of a quick rule of thumb, maybe.
Absolutely. Okay, well, just be yourself and just follow your passion and deliver. Always deliver what you promise. It'll pay off. It's been for me, and be authentic self, and everything else follows. And thank you for taking the time to be here today.
That's perfect. Thank you, Maria. Lawson?
I would say come to the Cannon. But seriously, Elon Musk says that starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss of death. And like a lot of times it really does feel like that, and it really does suck. And so the Cannon exists to surround and equip small businesses with all the support and resources they need to succeed, and regularly have a revolving door of classes and speakers and programs. So that's why we exist, and we'd love to help.
That's perfect.
You took a little bit of my fire. I was going to tell you guys that the best advice I can give you is the best place to have your breakfast meetings. Right?
After you go to the Cannon, right?
Yeah.
Before you go to the Cannon.
Matter of fact, meet the Cannon. We're going to meet up.
We're going to figure something out.
We'll work it out. And I got to dispel this urban legend. Jeff has never waited in the line at the breakfast club. No, I'll tell you why. Because he knows the secret. He knows that if you come during the week in the morning, which is when a lot of the business folks come,
right,
you can walk right in. So
That's
for those
right.
of you looking to rub elbows with some of the Jeff Moses of the world, they're at TBK at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday morning. But best advice I can give you, this is what works for us, our company: quality product, quality service all the time.
There you go.
We work at making sure that we don't compromise on the product. We don't compromise on the people that deliver the product.
Yeah.
And whatever we say we do it consistently.
Thank you, Marcus. Jesson?
Well, I think, the customer service aspect, if you're not sort of serving your customers and giving yourself a reason to be, then you got a long sort of uphill fight against you. But I think I always thought about this as I built our businesses, and I've built others in the past, that I made tons of mistakes. I try to think about it as tuition. Try not to learn the same mistake twice. Yeah. And one of the things that's really great about an environment like this and being able to sort of rub elbows with a lot of your peers that are here is you find mentors in a lot of different places, and I would encourage you guys to, learn from somebody else's tuition that they've paid. Always, that's one of the amazing things about the small business community is, I've never met Marcus before, and I bet you we could start, have a conversation on the side about something that folks really want to help each other. There's an amazing amount of camaraderie in the small business community. So tap your resources, tap your neighbors, and tap other folks in the community. It'll make a big difference for you.
To play off of Jesson's comment, each of you brought business cards, I know, and you've got 4 wonderful resources here, about 100 years of wonderful experience of growing business. So take advantage of meeting with these business leaders that are coming up on stage today. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for what you're doing to grow jobs.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.